Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen wa salatu wa salamu ala ashrafil mursaleen amma ba'd. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. And welcome to the third session of this basics of Aqeedah, and we are going through the small treatise of Allamah Shurumbulali, Maraqi Sa'adat, which has been translated as Ascent to Felicity by Sheikh Faraz Khan as well. We have already covered a major portion of this few pages within this treatise, and inshallah today we will be going towards the third part of this treatise, and we are going to go into Qadr inshallah. Now inshallah today we will have two sub chapters, you can say, and the first chapter which will be dealing more with the qadr and the ilm of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the absoluteness of it. It is the wordings for the treatise itself, the Arabic wordings. It's a little bit important. It's a little bit mughlaq as well. So we will be going through the matan source, but I would like you to not to focus too much on the sentence structures and the translation as such. Rather focus on the concept that is being relayed within it, the points with regards to qadr that are being relayed. Now, the qadr, first and foremost, is the predestination or the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from beforehand of the things that are supposed to happen. Now, consider it in this manner, that if you know that a set of events A, B, C are supposed to occur at certain time, this time A, time B, time C, and then it is we would say that you already have a knowledge of that event. Having knowledge of that event also means that that event has to occur. And when we say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's knowledge, ilm, is absolute, it translates into that something, whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows, will occur, right? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knowledge is so absolute that he cannot be misinformed about it. This is the same aspect of qadr being seen from the two different angles, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knowing of it, that it will happen, and that is Allah's knowledge, absolute knowledge. But from the other angle, we would say that it has to occur like that. We have already explained that it does not really mean that the creation is bound by it. Rather, what it means is that creation, out of their complete free will, chooses their decisions, chooses their choices and everything. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's knowledge is so absolute that Allah knows which choices are going to be made. So let's continue with the statements over here and see what we can assess here, inshallah. Wa aslul qadri, and the reality of qadr is that it is sirrullah fi khalqihi, that it is a secret of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with regards to his creation. Lam yattali' ala dhalika malakun muqarrabun wala nabiyyun mursalun, that no close angel of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala nor any prophet who had been sent has been informed about it, has been given any information about it. So right off the bat, it is an information, or it is a concept that is so close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, such a secret of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that no one can completely understand it. And as we will go further on, we will come to a statement later on as well, that in fact as creation we are unable to understand this. Then he continues and says, وَالتَّعَمُّقْ فِي ذَلِكَ ذَرِيَّةُ الْخَذْلَانِ. And to get engrossed into it, to go deeper into it, dive into it, is a means towards being forsaken. Why? Because you are going to dwell into it, and you will start asking questions which your mind will not be able to comprehend, and hence you will start making incorrect assumptions as a result of it. وَسَلِمَ الْحِرْمَانِ. And this ta'ammuq, you delving deeper into it, secures a path for you that you will be prevented from the safe path, prevented from the straight path, and meaning that you are going into the domain which does not belong to you. So obviously you are going to get confused with it. فالحذر كل الحذر من ذلك نظرا وفكرا ووسوسة. Then what is the purport? What should you do? حذر كل حذر. Then be cautioned of it, as complete caution, that you remain, stay away from it, stay out of it. من ذلك نظرا, whether you have to do it by way of thinking about it, thoughts, wafikran, and pondering further into it, and by way of getting the whispers from certainly from the shaitan as well. So obviously when you are going to start dwelling into this concept, which is securely for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's sake, then obviously shaitan is going to find the way to put his waswasas as well. فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ سُبْحَانَهُ وَتَعَالَى, for indeed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala طوى علم القدر عن عنامه ونهاهم عن مرامه. For indeed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has hidden this knowledge of qadr, the knowledge of predestination, an anamihi, from his creation, and wanahahum, and has prohibited an maramihi, of going ahead and seeking into it and finding into it. Now this is also the generic command of why among the Salaf, among the earlier scholars, it was completely understood that ilmul kalam was completely avoided. It was not seen as a good field to get into. The only reason the Salaf actually went ahead into Ilm al-Kalam was as a means of protecting the Muslims who were having an onslaught of people with the different theological mindsets coming from the other socializations. And that was corrupting the minds of general masses. So to counter that, the scholars had to go into the Kalam in order to preserve the knowledge. Other than that, they always disapproved of going and dwelling into the Ilm al-Kalam. And you will notice this in today's time as well, that the scholars normally do not like going into these Aqeedah and theological discussions so much, because they know that not everybody has a correct mindset to go into these kind of discussions without getting strayed away. So now, to establish that, he says, كما قال تعالى, like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم, لا يسأل عما يفعل وهم يسألون. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he will not be asked about what he does, he is not questioned about what he does. وهم يسألون, and people are the ones who will be questioned instead. فمن سأل لما فعل. So whosoever questions in its complete honesty, that why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala do this, meaning really questioning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Something happened and it's not like, oh, why was it supposed to happen like this? No, not by way of regret or anything, rather by way of actually questioning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala do like this? Right? So فقد رد حكم الكتاب وكفر. then he has indeed rejected the command of the Quran, command of the book, and he has become a kafir. He has committed an act of kufr. وهذا ما يحتاج إليه من هو منور قلبه من أولياء الله تعالى. And this matter is something which those who have been illuminated, who have been given guidance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by way of knowledge and by way of nur of ilm from among the awliya, Allah's friends, then they are the ones who can delve into it and to the level of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives to them. وهو درجة الراسخين في العلم. These are the people who have excelled in their knowledge. Now, the reason why this is so is because these are the domains which relate to the ma'arifah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the haqaiq of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now obviously those are the domains which are not really bound for every layman. They are for those who can actually tread that path. And even in the ayah of the mutashabihat, the same rasikhin has been mentioned, and when we go into tafsir we can talk about those who are the rasikhin. But here Allamah Shurumbulali seems to indicate towards that those who have the irfan, those who have been given the nur of illuminated of sharah sadr on the issues, they go into these issues and understand the boundaries of it. But obviously these kind of knowledges, especially the knowledge of qadr, as we have mentioned, no one can go into it and encompass it and understand it. So now he needs to further explain how do they become this, or why do they become this rasikhin, how do they excel in this knowledge. So he explains that لِأَنَّ الْعِلْمَ عِلْمًا, that ilm in fact is of two types. There are two types of knowledges. Ilmun fil khalq mawjood, the knowledge with regards to the creation that is mawjood, that is available, and this is the knowledge that is before us, we have been given to us. Wa ilmun fil khalqi mafqood, and the ilm that with regards to the creation and everything, that has been kept hidden, has been kept away from us. One is that has been brought in front of us, and one that has been kept hidden away from us. فَإِنْكَارُ عِلْمِ الْمَوْجُودِ كُفْرٌ, to make negation of the knowledge that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has provided in front of us, that is kufr. Now what is this ilm that has been made available to us? This is kitab and sunnah, right? This is the information of Quran and Sunnah, all those things, and that the amba from the ghaib that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has been given to, so that he can relay it to the masses, and that is the ilm that we have been given. So this is the ilm that is mawjood, that is available for us. And as for the ilm that is mafqood, وإدعاء العلم المفقود كفر. And to seek out, to go forward seeking the ilm that is mafqood, that is kept hidden from us, that is kufr. Why? Because it's something that it is from the ilm al-ghaib. It is from the ilm of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's qada, the qadr. Those knowledges, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has kept them hidden. There is no possible way for you to attain them. So it's futility for you to go towards it, and you actually deciding to go and seeking them out shows that you are rejecting the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what does this boils down to? وَلَا يَصِحُّ الْإِيمَانِ, the iman will not be correct إلا بقبول العلم الموجود, except by accepting the ilm that has been brought in front of you, the Quran and the Sunnah, وترك طلب العلم المفقود, and leaving out, abandoning the seeking out of the ilm, that knowledge that has been kept hidden away, that has been kept away. Wallahu alam. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. So he stops here. And the reason why he's saying this is because he wants to explain that this is what the qadar refers to. Now, he wants to then go ahead and explain, or rather talk about the qadar from a slightly different angle. And basically, if you look at qadar, the all-powerful, all-knowing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's absolute knowledge gives Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala a certain power, right? And that's why Allah is Allah. Allah is the God, right? So it gives him that power. And that is why qadar from one aspect is also considered like to be a power. Whereas we, on the other hand, do not have that kind of a power, and we do not even have the power of going out of our domain to understand what is beyond our personal capacity, let alone the capacity that goes beyond the capacity of a human. Let me explain that a little bit more. Think of an individual person. He has a personal capacity, personal boundary of knowledge that he can understand, and he can only go to that level. And every person is different in this regard. Now, let's say one person becomes an ultimate genius and gets more information and more knowledge than anyone else. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given him a wider scope of boundary to explore his understanding. But still, his understanding will remain confined within the combined boundary of the humanity itself. That shows that an individual cannot go beyond that. Now, if that were the case, then what about the combined communal boundary of the entire humanity? Now, let's look at this ibarat and we will go towards that. وَنُؤْمِنُ بِاللَّوْحِ وَالْقَلَمِ, and we believe in the lawh, the tablet, وَالْقَلَمْ, and the pen. وَبِجَمِيعِ مَا فِيهَا رُقِمَ, and with all that has been written within it, which has been engraved into it. Now, look at this one. لَوْ اجْتَمَعَ الْخَلْقُ كُلُّهُمْ عَلَى شَيْءٍ. If all the creation were to get together to about something, عَلَى شَيْءٍ قَدْ كَتَبَ اللَّهُ فِيهِ, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has already written in this law, right? Because of that knowledge and everything, annahu ka'inun, that it will be. Now, why did they got together? لِيَجْعَلُوهُ غَيْرَ كَائِنٍ, so that they can make it such that it will not be. Now, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned in the law, in the tablet, that certain thing will be like this. Now, all of the creation were to get together so that they can make it not be like that, mean that it would go against what has been written in the tablet. Lam yaqdiru alayh, they will never have the qudra, they will never have the power over it, or they will never be able to do it. Similarly, law ijtama'u ala shay'in, and if they were to gather upon something, lam yaktubhu Allahu fi, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala never wrote in it, or wrote in it that it will never be, right? Annahu ka'inan liyaj'alu ka'inan. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wrote in the tablet that it will never be, right? It will never be, and they want to make it be, right? Lam yaqdiru alayh, they will never have the power over making that happen. Jaffa al-qalam bima huwa ka'inun annahu ka'inun ila yawm al-qiyamah, and the pens have dried up, the ink has dried up with regards to all that will be, that it will be until the day of judgment. No one will be able to change that. This is the another aspect of the qadar that is coming along, that Allah's knowledge is absolutely absolute, right? That it will be as it has been written down. وَمَا أَخْطَأَ الْعَبْدُ لَمْ يَكُنْ لِيُصِيبَهُ. And whatever missed a person, it was never going to afflict him anyway, right? What missed him, it was never going to afflict him anyway. وَمَا أَصَابَهُ لَمْ يَكُنْ لِيَخْطِئَهُ. And whatever afflicted him, whatever he got, it was as if like it was never going to miss him anyway. Whatever he got, he got. I mean, there was no chance of him missing it at all. But this imposes an obligation upon a person. وَعَلَى الْعَبْدِ أَنْ يَعْلَمَ أَنَّ اللَّهَ تَعَالَى سَبَقَ عِلْمَهُ فِي كُلِّ كَائِنٍ فِي خَلْقِهِ فَقَدَرَ ذَلِكَ بِمَشِيئَةِ تَقْدِيرًا مُبَرَّمًا. That it is important, now it is binding for a person, for a servant, for a slave to know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, his knowledge preceded, right? Preceded that of his creation with everything that it was going to be, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mashi'ah, his willingness, made it to went through in the most perfect manner. لَيْسَ لَهُ نَاقِدٌ. There is no one who can overturn it, who can go against it. وَلَا مُعْقَبٌ. And no one can overrule it. وَلَا مَزِيلٌ. No one can remove it. It is inevitable. It has to be. وَلَا مُغَيِّرٌ. And no one can change it. وَلَا مُحَوِّلٌ. And no one can affect it in any other way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has willed it to be like that. And then he continues and presents the reason for that, or the nas for that. قَالَ تَعَالَى وَكَانَ أَمْرُ اللَّهِ قَدْرًا مَقْدُورًا. That indeed the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is an absolute and its final decree. It's a final decree. فَوَيْلٌ لِمَنْ صَارَ لِلَّهِ فِي الْقَدْرِ خَصِيمًا. Then destruction is for the person who becomes an opponent for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with regards to this qadr, with predestination. وَأَحْضَرَ فِيهِ قَلْبًا سَلِيمًا. And he has presented by doing so with a second heart. وَكَانَ أَفَاكًا أَثِيمًا. And he has become a sinful forgerer towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now understand from this, the whole thing that is being talked about with the aspect of qadr is just establishing the absoluteness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's power. Right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's power is being attributed as absolute, and his knowledge is being attributed as absolute. Then he continues to talk about Arsh. Now here is the portion where we discuss some of the aspects of mutashabihat, which is the common controversial areas. I'm not going to dwell too much onto it because that is not the purpose of this course. Inshallah, perhaps in a more detailed course, later course, you will talk about the differences of opinions over here. But we will just go over it in a general manner, looking at what is the stance. Wal arsh wal kursi haqqun kama bayyana Allah ta'ala fi kitabih. Arsh of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the throne, and the kursi is haqq. It's real. Like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has clarified, made abundantly clear in his Quran. وَهُوَ جَلَّ جَلَالَهُ مُسْتَغْنٍ عَنِ الْعَرْشِ وَغَيْرَهُ. But at the same time, Allah Jalla Jalaluhu is independent from the throne and or anything else. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is completely independent. So while these things are haqq, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has spoken about them in the Quran, we are not going to say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala needs these things. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is muhitun bi kulli shay'in ilman. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is also muhit of everything by virtue of knowledge, right? So we are not going to attribute being the muhit in a way of physical ihata, physical encompassment. No, we are not going to do that, right? He is muhit by way of knowledge. وَقَدْ أَعْجَزَ, now this is the ibara I was talking about before. وَقَدْ أَعْجَزَ عَنِ الْإِحَاطَةِ خَلْقَهُ, that he has made his creation ajiz. Ajiz mean to become incapacitated, completely incapable. He has made his creation incapable anil ihata, from encompassing it, from understanding it, right? All these are mutashabihat. We cannot understand them because they are not from our domain. So فَمَا نَصَّ عَلَيْهِ هُوَ كَمَا قَالَ, then whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has stated in the nas, has made the nas upon with regards to those things which are his domain, huwa kama qal, they are how he says, whatever he says. Wa ma'anahu, and their meanings, ala ma arada, they are according to what he intends. How can we know, how can we realize the true understanding of them when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made us ajiz of understanding them? So how can we say that, oh, okay, we don't understand them, but we understand their meaning? No, just like we don't understand the original concept, we don't understand their realistic, their haqiqi understanding, haqiqi ma'na in there as well. So we say wa ma'nahu ala ma arada. This is called tafweed, by the way. This is relinquishing their meanings and everything, the modality and everything, to whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala intends. We are not going to delve into it. So he makes it clear, لا ندخل في ذلك متأولين بآرائنا. We are not going to enter into that our interpretation by our opinions. No, we are not going to do that. And ولا متوهمين بأهوائنا, and we are not going to create some whims from our own desires and everything. No, we are not going to do that. Instead we are going to relinquish it all to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فإنه ما سلم في دينه إلا من سلم لله تعالى ولرسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم. So, for indeed he in the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, nothing remains safe. One doesn't remain safe except the one who completely surrenders towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and towards the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We are incapable of understanding these things. That's why these are mutashabihat. These are things which are beyond our scope. So in these cases we just simply submit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to his Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. وَالرَّدَّ عِلْمُ مَا اشْتَبَهَ إِلَى عَالَمِهِ, and we divert the knowledge of these things to those who are knowledgeable of it. Now, what he wants to mention by saying that we divert the knowledge, as at one time we are saying that we do not know about all this, we cannot understand all this, so we relinquish to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then another aspect he's writing that we divert it towards the ulama. What is being trying to mention is we do understand that there are different madhahib or different methodologies and in this issue, and we cannot, as a layman, we cannot delve deeper into it because we are not we are not munawwarun qalbahu min awliya illah ta'ala. We are not illuminated with regards to the knowledges of this, and we have not reached the darajatul rasikhin fil ilm, those who have excelled in the ilm and everything. So we are in no capacity of actually debating these issues. So what do? We relinquish it. First of all, the safest position to relinquish to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and if we have to talk about the knowledge of it, what we understand from the ilm fi al-khalq al-mawjood, whatever we know from the knowledge that has been presented, then we give it to the ulama, the ulama who are expert in the field. Now remember that not every alim that comes out of the madrasa and comes out of the scholarship is a expert in Aqeedah and has done all the nitty-gritties and delicate points of Aqeedah and on these issues. No, that is never the case. If not everyone can become a faqih, then not everyone can become an expert in Aqeedah as well. This is a foolish understanding that you can do 4 years of course and then suddenly you come out and you are a scholar of Aqeedah as well, and you're doing tafsir as well, and you're doing all these kind of different things. Not in one fiqh, you are doing four fiqh together, and this is all just a superficial understanding. Instead we realize the level of the experts is the level of expert, and we give it to them. And then finally he says, وَلَا يَثْبِتُ قَدَمَ الْإِسْلَامِ إِلَّا عَلَى ظَهْرِ التَّسْلِيمِ وَالْإِسْتِسْلَامِ. That the fortification, the foundation of Islam does not get established, the footing in the Islam does not get established except on the back of on the force of submission, complete submission and surrender, because that brings about a person's Islam. Then finally in this chapter he talks about wal mi'raju haqqan, that mi'raj, the ascension of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam going towards the heavens, it is definitely haqq. There is no question about it. It is as much of a reality like kal isra'i min al masjid al haram ila masjid al aqsa, like the Isra, the travel of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam from the Masjid al Haram towards the Masjid al Aqsa in that time was also haqq as well. Ukrima bihin Nabiy sallallahu alaihi wasallam fil yaqsa bi jismihi sharif, that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was given this honor while he was awake. It was not in the state of sleep. While he was awake, bi jismihi sharif, with his real physical body. So do not think that it was some form of a metaphysical state or metaphorical aspect, which some of the translators of the books, translators of the Quran, they mention in quite a few, and some of the very famous one like Abdullah Yusuf Ali, I believe he mentions while talking about Mi'raj and everything that it was in fact metaphysical state and everything, or in his dream. Thumma ila samawat, and then towards the heavens. Thumma ila haythu sha'a Allah ta'ala min al-ala, and then from the heavens towards to wherever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala intended, Sidratul Muntaha, and further and on to how high Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted, Allah took him there. Wa akramahu bima sha'a wa awha ilayhi ma awha, and then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala honored him with whatever he wished. Right? We don't wish to delve into the nitty-gritties of what happened there. Whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala honored him, and whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him, the wahi, the present of the salawats, and everything, when we believe in all that, that is all a reality, and we accept them all. Inshallah, let us stop here. This is the first chapter, and now we are going to go towards the next chapter with regards to the ranks among the Sahaba.